Hi everyone, and welcome today's webinar. This series was created to spotlight the voice in construction who are driving the real change, not just in how we build the projects, but how we grow people and lead teams. Our guest today is a perfect example of that. Cory Fisk has over 18 years of experience in construction industry. She has worked in roles ranging from field engineer to project managers to executive facility directors. Her work spanned federal, commercial, and residential projects. And today, she is the founder of Construction Management Online. Though that platform, Cory is rethinking how we teach and learn in construction, having professionals not only sharpen their technical skills, but also master the leadership and people skills that drive success. She's also recently partnered with US Construction Zone to launch CM Skill Builders, a tool that gives a field professional fast, practical mini courses that can apply right away directly on the job. Kerry work is about building the next generation of leaders in construction, and we are honored to have her today. Let's jump in. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Great. So, Kerry, we will start first of all by letting knowing what's your favorite quote.
My favorite what?
Yeah.
Um, I'm sorry. Just repeat the question one more time for me, please.
What's your favorite quote? I mean,
My
anyone,
favorite
any.
code in construction. So, there's lots of codes. I don't know that any of them would be my favorite, but they're all important because safety is one of the most important factors that we look at when we're analyzing what we're looking at about construction. I call it the four primary factors that we look at in every aspect of construction, and that is always making sure that we're looking at quality, safety, time, and budget. Those are the four things we should always look at whenever we're trying to transition into looking at what it's going to cost on a project or how long a project's going to take. And these factors should be looked at in all circumstances.
Kerry, I would like to know when I was doing some research about you, uh, how you got interested in this field of training people from the on the field and letting them to get to the management. Well, what was that moment and how you got inspired to train the people so confident?
So being a teacher always requires passion because you're not
Yeah.
going to make much money, right?
Okay.
But I didn't have a passion for it. It was something that I felt like I was forced into because I had some circumstances in my life and had gone through a divorce, and I needed to be available for my children. And
Oh,
so I needed to be able to stay in the business that I loved, but be able to be there to drop the kids off for school and pick them up. And so I transitioned into becoming a college professor where I was able to still on the side perform some construction management duties, which allowed me to be able to stay in tune and tell my students great stories about what was going on the job site. But I've now, after being in construction for so long in my life, I just really saw there was a disconnect between people that are working with their hands and people who are in management positions. And it's really kind of a funny phenomena if you look at it, is that many of us that are on the lower end of the scale of what our vision is, what a scale should be, is that we're always striving to go to the top towards the people that
absolutely.
we're upset at.
Everyone is trying to do the same thing.
Everyone's trying to do the same thing, and then they're upset at the people who've achieved it instead of looking at those people and trying to mimic or use them as a role model and as a mentor. And so I really saw it as an opportunity to be able to help people that were in the field understand that they're worthy no matter where they're at in the construction ladder. And some people really like being in the job site with their hands on it. So moving in a promotional position is not always the best thing for everyone. And
Yeah,
so when you're in that position that you have visualized as being lower on the ladder, you just need to understand that there are different opportunities on that same level that also will accelerate and evolve your career. And
yeah.
so becoming a teacher and being able to provide some of that light for individuals was really important here in the later season of my life, where now I enjoy watching other people grow and really come into themselves, understanding what an amazing occupation construction is.
That's really great feeling when with knowing that you are when someone will be train them and he gets. I think it is a very great feeling when, if, for example, you train one of your a person who is an on field and then you see him as a construction manager or something manager and sitting in the main office. So that's a great achievement to see, even to imagine also how good it could be feeling for you when you train these kids.
Well, I think it's a quote that we sometimes use here in the United States of you're too close to the forest. So you can see the trees, but you can't see the entire forest. And so when you have someone else that's able to step back and look at your skill sets and be able to see how life has impacted you and how those experiences have shaped not only your construction knowledge, but your ability to work with people, your ability to be able to engage and communicate. And this is why in construction management online, we always talk about if you can manage your life, you can manage a project.
Great. So in that sense only, I have a question, Kerry. So currently, whatever the uncertainty in the economy is right now, I mean, cost pressure is there, labor shortage is there, project delays are there, and even currently what tariff war is going on. What do you think the construction leaders should be focusing on and most right now to stay steady and strong?
Yeah. It's a really tough time for everyone, right? And it's short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. This is really something that needs to be done for us to be able to reset what, not necessarily what's been happening, because everything that's been happening to this point was needed and was important for us to be able to understand where we need to go, but it's going to be tough for a while. I think the construction industry is going to be able to flourish in this time. This is going to be an amazing opportunity for people to see stability in their work and always being able to have something to do, because there's so much infrastructure now that needs to be fixed. There's so
Yeah,
much new work that needs to be done in order for us to be able to take advantages of the technologies that are upcoming in our future. The hardest thing is going to be maintaining our delivery shipment line of our products and really being able to understand where products are coming from, what the fluidity of that transfer is, so that we can have those products on our job sites in time for us to be able to do the work. But technologies are obviously the talk of the future.
yeah,
The problem is we're a little old school. Sometimes we don't like to recreate the wheel. And so it's not necessarily the technologies that are the problem. It's going to be understanding how to change the mindset and
absolutely.
introduce in a step-by-step process these new technologies to our workforce so that they can gain confidence in their ability to be able to tackle it and then be able to build on top of what they learn.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. My second thing is you often talk about putting the people before processes. What does that really look like on the job site or within a project team, especially when things are, I mean, getting tough?
Yeah, it's really hard because people will be people, right? And in the construction industry, a lot of us are working in a solo box because we're afraid somebody's going to come in and take our job, or we're afraid that, we can't really release too much knowledge and let people know what we know. And there's always a lot of talk of, well, we need to be more vulnerable and have more empathy and compassion. And I agree, but you still have to do it with a guard. You have to be able to understand that, not everybody out there is to be your friend. And being vulnerable can expose sensitive areas in you and in your life that people weaponize. And
Yeah.
so this is why, even in these times, when it is so important to have networking, communication, teamwork going on, people are really desiring the connection that we used to have before all of this technology. And so it's important to build those relationships and really understand the people that you're working for. So instead of exposing, your whole personal life on a job site of what's going on, it really needs to stay focused on being able to be there as a person that when someone needs someone to listen, that you can listen. And I think that when we think of communication, everyone always thinks of how well you can speak with someone. But on a job site, it really comes down to how well you listen
Yeah.
and being able to really understand where that person's coming from. And in construction management online and CM skill builders, we often talk about the skill sets needed for each individual person in order to be your best before you can be the role model to someone else. And the number one is awareness. And that awareness is not only what's going on around you, being able to see if someone's a little bit depressed that day, or being able to see if someone's struggling with a concept, but also being able to read yourself in the moment. How are you responding to this person? Are you being reactionary? Or are you strategically and intentionally thinking about how your interaction is going to improve this person's life or improve this construction project?
Great. But I have a next question in that. That's a great point how you do with them. But the thing is, uh, see, when everybody has a pressure, targets, and everything on his mind, in such situation when somebody is under a pressure, or when the people are, when you have an workload and the project details are in coming in, how to be that calm and conscious while speaking, and uh, I mean, how you train in your course about that.
Well, we don't. We throw our hard hat and we start screaming and yelling at the closest person to us. So, but what it is that we have to recognize it's already happened. Has already dealt with this problem somewhere in the construction industry, and it will get resolved, and we will build this project. And so it is hard in the moment to be able to control emotions. But if you can take emotions out of it and start analyzing the factual evidence of the situation, you begin to find the answers to resolve that situation. But when you're emotional about it, you're driving the agenda. So you're not allowing the opportunity for the resolution to come in full bloom, because your focus is, the people that are involved in the situation. You need to look at the evidence. Do we have the products that we need? Have they been installed correctly? Do we have the right design? Who needs to be involved? As a construction manager, it's our job to facilitate the project. So we're looking to lean on the expertise of the builder, of the designer, of the inspector, and then making sure that everyone is on the same page. So we're not going to be able to stay calm all the time, but make sure that you're not yelling and screaming about the way your morning started, and that your focus is on the work.
Great, that could be done. Secondly, if now, what would you suggest for a kid of a 25-year-old or a 22-year-old who's coming in construction industry with a technical knowledge. So looking to his future of the next 5 years, other than technical knowledge, where should he focus in his career?
Well, first I'd tell them to grab a shovel and go out on the job site for a couple of months, because you can't really know what someone's going through until you've experienced it yourself. And although we are moving in a direction where data collection is going to be essential,
Absolutely.
and being able to operate drones and being able to come up with innovative, amazing, imaginatory robots that are going to take our place out on the field and out of the workforce, we still need them to have the connection to the people who are really boots on the ground and doing the work. Because even in that moment of designing a robot or a software, if you don't understand the people that are going to be using it, then there's going to be a disconnect. And then someone like me is going to have to try to figure out how to train people between the disconnect. And it still is just another disconnect between two totally different areas of work. And because in the construction industry, technology is relatively new, and this acceleration that we're feeling is due to the experience and work that's been taking place in other industries. So it's not just like we're learning with everyone else. We're 10, 20 years behind the ball. So this learning curve that we're getting is, like we say, drinking from a fire hose. And I think that when people learn that way, they begin to start establishing resistance against it, which in itself causes the inability to be able to absorb new information.
Yeah.
And so being able to keep an open mind and being able to stay excited and curious about things is going to make sure that you're not only learning it, but you're learning it at a speed that allows your subconscious and your conscious to be able to absorb things more than you could ever imagine.
Great. Maybe I have, I mean, everybody's talking about recently. We keep hearing that construction jobs are growing. Recently, Economic Forum has given a report where there are a lot of electrical people we need, operators we need on in construction field. Many are getting retired. Fewer young professionals are entering in the industry. What do you think that's happening? I mean, how do we change it? What's lacking this youth to come to the construction? Because everyone is obviously looking for Silicon Valley, and every time we report, we see that there are a lot of jobs, there are a lot of people required in construction, and obviously when then technology companies, like even if you see Procore, which is a software company, now they have their own robots on the field. So they are pushed to get the robots on the construction sites. But still, to operate all these things, we need a lot of manpower, whatever is required. And there are very few who are approaching to the construction industry. What is the reason, and what the leaders could do to make that environment, or to attract this talent or retain this talent?
Well, first, we need to be able to educate them on it, right? Because literally anything that you do anywhere in the real world, there's a place for you in the construction industry. We should make a video game with Bob the Builder.
Yeah,
And
that was a famous show.
start with our real youth and start changing the reputation of construction into from this dirty, hardworking thing which exists, but into the revelation of these amazing projects that are in completion, that run smoothly and provide housing and traffic for us, and are able to, I mean, literally, if construction didn't exist, you wouldn't have runways for the airplanes.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
all of these things. And so really being able to change the younger generation is going to have to be done by the older generation. And so the problem is that much of our older generation is getting ready to retire, and they're used to working. They love working. They don't
Yeah.
want to stop working, but their
Yeah.
body doesn't allow them to continue working at the pace and in the type of work that they've been doing.
Yeah.
And so having companies be able to develop mentorship programs within their companies that can allow these people ready to retire to retain their work experience and their construction knowledge, and give them a different role. Let them be a quality control person on the job site who's there 3 days a week, but also mentoring and role modeling those young people who are scared to come into construction because they're fearful of failure. And because they've never really failed before, because their parents have always stepped in and picked them before they could hit the ground, they don't know that it's really not failure at all. It's lessons of being able to learn and see yourself grow and expand into another level of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so having those mentors in place is really important. And then changing the picture of construction, that there are dirty hard times, but again, short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. In life, we always have to get through hard things. So the hard
Absolutely.
things teach us how to be strong and resilient in order to be able to be the best that we can be.
Yeah. That's a good one, Perionic. Looking ahead to 5 to 10 years, what do you think tomorrow's most successful construction leaders will need to be great at beyond just technical knowledge?
Yeah, it really comes down to effective communication and knowing how to manage your teams. Knowing how to manage your teams isn't like old school where we did authoritative down leadership. Knowing how to manage your teams means that you intimately know every member on your team and that you're able to support them in the skill sets that they're not as strong in, and being able to let them drive forward 100% in their skill set zones that they are amazing in. And so it doesn't necessarily look like a construction company with the titles and the roles of individual positions. It
Yeah.
becomes a melting pot of skill sets of people working on what it is that they're best in, and spending just a little bit of time in those areas that they need work in order to continue developing those skill sets, but not staying drained in areas that are not productive for them.
Yeah. Can you just explain us how your course is? I mean, how the course is designed, and what are the topics, and how you train these people, and how they reach out to that management level stage?
Well, we start always by understanding that it starts with us. So personal accountability and really understanding that you're responsible for your own success. And so being able to have the construction mindset is important, so that when we do go through the information and you learn it, that you start a lesson presented, that you're in the right frame of mind when that education starts, so that you can absorb it as quickly as possible. Then what we do is it is a multitude of mini courses on everything that you won't find in a textbook. So being able to really talk deeply about RFIs, requests for information, why they're so important, why it's important not just to ask the question, but how you ask the question, to be able to separate the original scope of work from what is being proposed, because we likely know that there is a change order at the end of that, and then we need to know what that change order process is. To help superintendents understand that AI is an amazing tool to be able to put in place grammar, spelling, their idea of what they're trying to get across when they're writing a daily report, and then using how that daily report is written to be able to understand the story of the project and the progress of the work, in order to be able to determine if there was a shortage of manpower or if the weather was impactful, what contributed to that change order. And so we use these construction management skill builder courses as mini courses. They're about an hour long, and they come with an ebook, a workbook, they come with PowerPoints, they come with a video. And what those do is they guide individuals step by step. So if they're an intern, an apprentice, or they're relatively new to the construction industry, and somebody has told them to go shadow that cranky superintendent, and that superintendent is feeling like they're under his feet because he's trying to do his job, he can send them to the trailer, and that they can then pull up a mini course, and they can go and build a submittal, or they can go and start creating a change order. And they can do that with the help of the skill builder. Then we have several certifications. We have 12-week programs and 8-week programs that do a deep dive into different areas in the construction industry, either understanding how to strategically and intentionally plan your projects. We have Construction Management Essentials, which is a 12-week certification program. And we support those that are moving from the job site into a management position, because you can do the work and still not really understand how to be able to guide and manage the work. You've been using a different side of your brain for 15 years, and now you're going to have to use the other side of your brain. And it's incredible that you have that hands-on work experience, and it's going to help you tremendously. But there are still many things to learn when you move to the management side of the table.
Great. I would like to when you were explaining all your project, all your course, uh, do you remember any of the wonderful comment or given by any of the from so many years you are doing this, but anyone that remembered you? I mean, could you recall someone who's saying a wonderful thing which never you forget it in your life?
I've been blessed with having many beautiful
Yeah, I
people
know
through
that.
my
I know
life.
that. But anyone you
And
could share here?
well, I just really, what I remember most are my mentors. And, being a woman in construction, there's not a lot of women that
Yeah.
we can use as role models. And so it is very important that the women who are in construction today to recognize that there's a lot of young girls that are looking at them with admiration of what women are capable of and what we can do. And especially in the construction industry right now, when having flexibility and adaptability is so incredibly important, women bring tremendous skill set to the construction industry to be able to fill some of those gaps where men are very focused and very production driven and able to really get the job done. Women can fill in some of those skill set gaps in there. But most of my mentors were men, and they were men who were willing to believe in me and understand that I was as capable as anyone else that they had under their watch. And that's what we need still. We need big, strong men to come in and be able to support women being in the construction industry, and recognizing that it's really about our competency and what we can get done, and not about gender. There are things that women are not going to be able to do that men do beautifully. And to be honest with you, I've thrown railroad ties on my shoulders, and I've thrown formwork on my shoulders, and have worked that way many summers, and I don't wish to do it anymore or again. So it's important for us to recognize everyone has a place, and we just need to be able to find what that place is. But Curtis Allen, Paul Doms, and Wanda Nelson was the one female mentor that I had who was just incredible. So
Great, great. Now, from mentor, I would like to know so many students you have trained. Any one student who has given you wonderful comment, or the way you have changed his life? Some words you could remember? One.
yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I'm working with a young lady right now, and she has had some struggles in her life, and has gone through a divorce, and has felt, been fighting some of that depression and not really feeling her worth. And I've been able to not only walk her through the construction side, but be able to support her because of my many years on this earth. I've been able to experience a few of the same things that she has. And so when you can reach people quickly in an intimate setting, it's very important because in construction, we have a tendency to move from job to job to job and not really develop those relationships. But when you're sitting across the table negotiating with someone, you can't you can't have those deep, strong negotiations and be mean to someone and not recognize that you're not going to be able to reciprocate and get what you want out of that conversation. And so having relationships fast and early in a construction project is really important. But I have over 4,000 students. I've been a
Yeah.
college professor for over 25 years. And I just had one of my students, his name's Tyrus, and he graduated about 5 years ago. And he gives me updates every time he gets a job promotion. And right now he's going to be studying abroad in Italy. And so he's very excited about learning about construction in other countries. And so it is exciting to be able to see other people really take advantage of what God has provided all of us, and that is tremendous opportunity.
That was truly great, Kerry, to learn from you. And many things I didn't knew because whatever we did research about yourself, it was more than what I thought about it. And it's really this the thing that you are doing is really something which brings a peace when some students pass out from your institution and do something great in construction. That makes us feel as proud about what we are doing out. And secondly, supporting, like you said, the woman, the lady which you said recently, she is going from the same situation which you are going out. So you very well know at what pain she is getting and how can you help into her. And after helping her only, you could come to know what we are changing the life of such peoples.
If you only change one life, right? I mean, you've done your work. So, and many times, part of the beauty of service is not always knowing when we're going to impact someone. So just making sure that whoever is in our path, that we're trying to be as kind as we can. In construction, there are a lot of stresses and anxieties outside. I call them outside influences that impact the way we respond to other people sometimes. And in that moment of awareness, we need to recognize, is this the legacy that I want to leave for my children? If that backhoe was to back over me right now, would people care, or would they be like, gosh, finally
Right.
something was able to shut her up, So just making sure that we're always traveling in a way that we would be proud of ourselves and we would make our family proud.
That was a great query talking with you and sharing these insights and closely knowing about the construction, not only in a business point of view, but also emotions, ethics, and values that need to be in the business. I mean, not only for the people working in construction, but also to the management level, the CEOs level. They have to also put some emotions, some ethics, some values, and I think that will only attract the youth of the nation to come back again to the construction industry because they only see the fancy things in the IT industry and all the offices, but and they think that it's a really a hard work in construction, but they are not seeing the beauty of what is inside in that. And yeah, and even the point which you said, like currently there is an uncertainty of economy. There is, I mean, many of the research have came in that maybe there may be a recession and so on. But yes, in that we can have to find a light at the end of the tunnel. We have to stay positive and see how can we grow and uh, mature ourselves in this journey. Thanks, Kerry, for talking with us. This was our first webinar, and you were the one of the perfect guest for this because the intention of this webinar is to just help the people in construction industry to uplift them. And thanks for sharing such wonderful words.
Thank you. And thank your audience for, sticking with this and just recognizing that again, we really are responsible for our own success. So strategically and intentionally develop a destination map that you can follow by finding a mentor who can be that light at the end of the tunnel for you.
Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.